Welcome everyone who's joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from.
I wrote a sticky note and put it on my computer that says, "Be the sponge."
There are some school-specific sponsorships which make you feel like more inclined towards them.
While you're in MBA, you have an unprecedented access to a lot of people, be it alums, recruiters, or your professors, your career services. Make the most out of your time, talk to people, get a clear understanding of what you want to go into.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning. Welcome to this session today that we're going to do on permutation, combination, probability. I know a lot of you are already scared of this. My goal will be to take all of that fear away. Before we get started, a little shout out, MBA Spotlight. You know, it's the biggest MBA fair coming up in June 13th and 14th. All top programs, including HBS, Wharton, Stanford, MIT, Booth are participating. Spots are limited. You need to register. The link is in the comments. All right, let's get started. Welcome everybody. Let's keep interacting in the chat and make this a very, very lively session. So I'll take this opportunity to first introduce myself. My name is Shweta Koshija. I am the lead quant expert at e-GMAT. And today I'll be here in this journey with you where we will try to decode why this topic is something that people struggle with. What is it that you need to do to really get past that barrier? So the purpose will be to explain what's the key to acing GMAT Quant. Well, nothing happens without having the basics, right? You have to have your concepts right. That is the foundation of everything. So first step, no matter what you're studying, is to have solid concepts. And then once you know concepts, you still have to know how to apply those concepts in questions, how to solve questions. A lot of times it happens with people, I get those messages a lot, that I know my concepts, but I go blank when I see questions. It's because you don't know how to approach a question, what that structured approach should be. So we'll talk about that. Here is the flow of the session, so understand this very clearly. We're first going to just warm up, get into the groove through some simple questions. These are going to be 5 questions, 500 to 600 level. After this, as we discuss the solutions to these questions, take that as a concept revision. So if you're rusted or you don't know the concepts, this is where we'll get the concepts in. And after that will be time for us to put those concepts into application mode. So sprint 1 is your first set of questions. It's 3 questions, this time at the medium level. See how warm up was at the easy level, and this is where your level is up. This is 600 to 700. And right after this, there'll be another level. We'll go higher up, this time 2 questions at the 700 plus level. So you'll steadily find yourself going up, up, and up in the session. Just keep a very open mind to learning. Make sure that the moment you find a gap in your understanding, you write that down. The moment I give you some feedback, I tell you about a faltering point, some takeaway, put that there so that you get a nice diagnosis of where you are today and what you need to work on. All right. I hope everybody is clear with this. And just give me 1 second. All right. So first of all, why should you trust the strategies that I'm going to give you today? I already talked about what is to be done, but why should you trust this? Well, it is already proven. This has accounted for way more success than anybody else. I'm going to show you all of that data. You can click on this link and check success stats. Okay, so I'm going to show you specifically what talking about the quant side of things. This is all of the scores reported on GMAT Club. These are verified scores. Just look at the number of success that came from e-GMAT students. So 133, this is in 2021, and ever since then the numbers are not different. The next best is close to 25%. So trust this. With this confidence, let's move and start learning. And as you know, we're going to start with warm-up questions, basic questions. So important instructions, it's going to be in the comment section. The links are going to be there. Nobody will write their answers in the comments. The comments are only for us to discuss, to keep this lively. You ask questions and I answer. Okay. Other than that, all you're going to do is Just mark your answers in the poll and then come back here. Okay. With that, let's have the first poll, please, for question number 1. And this is the question. All the best. All right, we have the accuracy data. 47% of the class got this correct. The correct answer is E. I don't know how much Anju and Nama had got to do with this because they put the answers in the comments. Guys, I requested not to do that. We do not want to impact somebody else's work. Let everybody have a fair share, an honest attempt at it. So for now, most popular incorrect answer was choice C, where 33% of you guys went. Let's see why. Let's discuss this. So, in how many ways can we form a 3-letter password using letters from this set? You have a fixed set of 6 letters and you want the password to have the last letter as a vowel. So, these are the 3 places for the letters, right? And what's my condition? That out of the 2 vowels that I have in my set, one of them has to go in the last place. That's what my condition is. Now, does that mean that the first 2 letters have to be consonants? Tell me, somebody. Let's see who gets this first. Does this question, with whatever I have read, does this tell me that the first 2 have to be consonants for sure? Yes or no? No. Okay. Yes, because the only thing it's saying is that the last letter is something. I cannot assume that it means that the second letter or the first letter cannot be so. So the first letter can be any of the 6 here. Harshal says the other vowel can appear there. That's a very interesting thing. Why, Harshal, the other one? Why can it not be the same one? Did the question say that I cannot repeat my letters? You made an assumption there. And this exam, the GMAT exam, is so smart, it knows how you think, it knows how you assume, and it'll be very easy for this exam to trap you. Right now, there is nothing whatsoever that we have about the first 2 letters. They can be anything from those 6 letters that you have in total. And this makes it 72. Simple counting, possibilities for every place. If you assume it's going to be a consonant, you would say that the first 2 places have four options. Even if you don't consider repetition, if you allow repetition, you will say 4 4 2. That will take you to a 32. If somebody does 4 times 3 times 2, then that will be a different answer. So many different things can take you to different answers. For people who marked choice C, how did you get to 40? How did you get to 40? What was the calculation you did? Ria, for example, Ria said 40. So Ria, what was your thought process? So we cannot say that 3-letter password without letters repeating. Yes, Harshil, we cannot say that. We cannot assume that. So 542, Harshil, what you did here was that just left out the one vowel that goes at the end, and the remaining 5, you kept that open for the first place, right? Then that one gone, you kept 4 possibilities open for the second place. So this trap, so many people fell into. 33% of the class did that. So everybody fell into this trap by just assumption. Ria, because where is it given in the question that you cannot repeat? You tell me, is it given in the question? All it says is it has to be a 3-letter password, and then it tells you what letters you can use. Why would you assume that those letters have to be different? That's how careful you have to be. Are we clear? I hope everybody has understood, because if these 33% people were also in the correct answer, our accuracy would have been way better. Yeah, Nama, unless they say you can't use it, you're allowed to repeat. Let's have the poll for question number 2. Good job, everybody, on this one. Be more careful now. This is question 2. Answers only in the poll, please. Good luck. Okay, accuracy data is here. We have 78% going for choice D, which is the correct answer. So good job. And most popular incorrect answer is B. Okay, let's see why, what happened. And I read somebody who was completely confused what to do. Listen to the solution very carefully and then feel free to ask questions. Okay, so what do we have here? Junior school class A has 6 boys, 4 girls. Class B has 8 boys, 7 girls. And you have this situation that a teacher wants to select one student from each class. So one student from A, one student from B, so that it's a team of 2 students, obviously. This team should have one boy, one girl. So that's the extra condition. You can't just select any one student, you have to meet the condition, right? Now how can this happen? There are only two possible cases. Either the boy comes from A and the girl comes from B, or the reverse. Now in each of these cases you will find their individual ways that you can do this. So how many ways to select a boy from class A? Since you have 6 boys, you want to select one boy, it is 6C1. C combination is for selection, when you're just selecting something. Similarly, there are 7 girls in class B and you're selecting one, so 7C1. This multiplication is for and, that you're doing this and you're doing that. Both things are happening. Whenever it's an or, you add. But same story, you write the other one also and you add them, and then it's just calculations. So people who marked 42, do you already realize your mistake? You considered only one case. You assumed that the boy has to come from A and the girl has to come from B. Assumption, as I said on the previous question, you will definitely go wrong. Never assume. In fact, 32 was also there in the choices, you see, for people who would have assumed the second case, the girl from A and the boy from B. You have no idea. Consider all cases is a very important process skill that we teach, in a lot of detail at e-GMAT, and it's so integral to your entire preparation. Every time you're creating cases, you have to make sure that you're not missing out on cases. You have to consider all the cases. Promote, this is the methodical approach, and this is what you have to learn how to do. Harshil, I was going on the 14 times 11, had to rethink. So if you do 14, Harshil, then you're taking 6 and 8, 14 boys and 11 girls. Then you're really missing the point that it has to be one student from class A and one student from class B. What if when you do your 14 times 11, what if the boy also comes from the same class and the girl also comes from the same class? Your method allows for that. So I hope you understand why that was wrong. Everybody clear with this? Look at the solution carefully. What you're doing here is, this is basic combination, and I showed you when you add and when you multiply the number of possibilities. Multiplication is when you say and addition is when you say or. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's have the poll for question number 3. And this is what the question looks like. All the best. Okay, so we have the accuracy data. 62% people went with choice E, which is correct, and 20% went with choice A. So, A, you were actually really close, but you just didn't do the last step. So, look, you want to find the probability of getting at least one head. What does that mean? So if it is three coins that you're tossing, then at least one means you can either get one head or two heads or three heads. So it's actually all of these that are possible. I've also written the order in which it can come. Now, this is like 7 different outcomes out of a total of 8, if you know that. Now, if you instead look at the reverse, the non event, which is what is the probability of not getting at least one head? That side has only one outcome. It's only TTT. So, when you use this, probability of an event is 1 minus probability of a non event, it's going to be easier. So, non-event, you find the probability that it's just one outcome out of a total of 8. So, probability for this happening is 1 by 8. And this is where some of you just stopped. But this is where you just had to subtract it from 1 and you would be done. So, you first have to make sure you consider all the cases, and then based on seeing how many cases I have to deal with here, how many I have to deal with in the non-event case, make the decision which one is going to be easier to work with. Okay, so your non-event was more straightforward. All right, let's have the poll for question number 4 now. How to do without also, you can see now here it's 7 favorable outcomes and 8 is total, so 7 by 8. So without doing the non-event method, if somebody wants to do it, then you'll have to know that there are going to be 7 outcomes where this is going to work, right? Now this was just 3 coins. Imagine this being 10 coins, you'll go crazy. So we want to make sure that we use the most efficient method. All right, poll for question 4, please. This is the question. Good luck. Oh, yes. So just before we move on, total outcomes for a coin is 2 to the power 3. Howsoever many tosses, raise that to 2. Okay. All right, good accuracy this time. 85% people went with the correct answer, which is choice A. Let's discuss this. So, number randomly selected, first 48 natural numbers, that's first 48 positive integers. What is the probability that this number is divisible by both 3 and 5? Abhinav, hold on to that. That is one of the questions. Numbers divisible by both 3 and 5. So, first of all, if a number is divisible by 3 and 5, it means it's divisible by 15. Essentially, you're just counting how many multiples of 15 you have. You just have 3 of those. And so, 3 is your favorable outcomes. Total outcomes are 48, and we're done. The answer is A. Okay, let's quickly go to the next question since this had a very good accuracy. Ashish, please show question number 5, the poll for that. Good luck, everybody. All right, so this is definitely lower than the accuracy we had for the previous question. That was 85, this is at 65. Let's see why. What changed here? The only thing I changed in the question was a word. So instead of having 3 and 5, you now have 3 or 5. So in case of 3 and 5, we could really change it into multiples of 15, and then it was straightforward. But what does it mean for a number to be divisible by 3 or 5? What do you need to do? Well, 1 second. Right. So the formula for finding the probability is that you find the probability of all numbers being divisible by 3, add that to the probability being divisible by 5, and subtract the probability of being 3 and 5. Why are we really doing this? Why do we subtract at the end? Because if you just count the numbers that are divisible by 3 and you count the numbers that are divisible by 5 also, and you just add them, then you will be double counting. Why? Because the numbers that are divisible by both of them, that is by 15, they will be in both of the lists, as you can see here. So you will have 15 in the first list also, 15 in the second list also, 30 in the first list also, 30 in the second list also. Basically, these three that belong to both of them. So we need to subtract them to remove double counting, and then you can just get your calculation. Your value will come out to be 11 over 24. So this is what you need whenever you're trying to find out probability of A or B. It's probability A plus B minus both. Okay. With this, we have come to the end of the warm-up section. Make sure that you have 200% clarity here. Even if you got a single question wrong here, that points to major conceptual gaps. You need to plug those gaps in, and then only will you truly ever be ready for the GMAT, really confident, because these were conceptual, and actually the questions that will come, they will be at a higher level. All right. So now this is one topic that we're discussing today, permutation, combination, probability. But the GMAT is made up of a lot of different topics. And to truly ace the exam, you need to ace all of those. So you have the opportunity to do that. Here are some upcoming sessions. And this is an example, first of all. Akash is somebody who was a bad test taker. So he could not calm his nerves down when he was taking a test. Somehow things changed when he was on the test. But ultimately, read his debrief. It's his journey where he tells how he went from this 640 to 760 and how he was able to reach the top 1% of all GMAT test takers. How did he make this 120-point improvement? I'm sure a lot of you want to do this. So click on this. The link will be here and you can read about his journey. Now, we have a session on May 20 at 7:30 p.m. IST where you will be able to define your personal study plan. Now, a lot of us here today might have the same destination. We want to get to a Q50 or a 51, but today our starting points are probably very, very different. And what that means is, even though we have different starting points, since our destinations are the same, our journey will be different. You cannot be doing something that somebody else is doing who has a different starting point. So join this session, register by clicking on the link here in the comments. And this is what Rajat is going to host. He is one of the co-founders of e-GMAT, and he's going to tell you how your plan should be. That'll take you to the 99th percentile. And then Sunday, May 21, again 7:30 p.m. IST, is a session that we're doing on geometry. So Harsha is going to do this session where, again, just as we're doing today, you're going to go from concepts to the hardest of questions in the span of this session. So click on the link and make sure you register for this as well. So with this little thing that I had to tell you, there was opportunity for you to learn more. Make sure you attend these. Now let's move and continue with the session. I told you sprint 1 is going to be our first application set where you're applying the concepts that we just revised. Again, it's going to be polls 3 questions, answer your questions in the polls. Okay, so Harshal, there's no fixed number to how many questions on PNC probability can come. This, because it belongs to advanced topics, it doesn't even come if you don't reach a certain level of score. So it depends on where you are. So somebody who's currently around a 35 or a 40, a low score, a Q40, you will not see these questions. But at the higher level, you're going to see these. Since even then, even if it does come, the number of questions cannot be too much. This comes in less more frequently than the other topics. Okay, let's have the poll for the first question in the sprint, please. This is the question. Good luck, everyone. All right, 72% accuracy on this one. I will answer your question, Nama. Let's just start this. So there are 5 red and 4 blue balls in basket A. There are 9 balls in total, and there are 16 balls in total in basket B. One ball is randomly picked from each basket, and the probability of both balls being blue is 1 by 4. So, one thing that tells me is because I'm picking one ball from A and one from B, and the probability of both being blue is not 0, it means there is a blue ball in basket B, right? Now, other than blue, what other color there is, does it really matter? Think about it. Suppose the blue balls in basket B are X in number. I'm just talking about blue. Then probability of both the balls being blue means what? That you pick up a blue ball from basket A and you pick up a blue ball from basket B out of whatever you have. So in basket A, there's no doubt it's 4 over 9. In basket B also, it's X over 16. No, 16 is the total. Now it's green or white or purple or whatever. Who cares? I just wanted to know about my blue balls. You just solve this and you have your answer. Got it? That's okay. So that's how sometimes it happens that we overthink and we confuse ourselves. Despite, knowing everything that's needed on the question, we complicate things. So at that time, whenever you feel that you're overthinking, just step back, look at it from a higher angle and think, do I care about other colors? I just know about blue out of total, and I know the total number. I don't care about the other colors. Okay, so E is the correct answer. Good accuracy here. I hope the remaining 28% got this now. A lot of people had marked 5. What calculations you did to get this, just look at all of that and see why this happened. Why did we multiply and not add? So Pramod, remember how I said, if you say and you multiply. So I am taking a blue ball from basket A and a blue ball from basket B. Or am I doing this, blue ball from basket A or blue ball from basket B? I don't have a choice. I'm doing both of them. So and is multiplication. That's the best way to remember this. Okay. Let's have the poll for question 2 in sprint 1. And meanwhile, all you need is visualize information, take variables when necessary, like we had to do here. Don't take unnecessary variables. Okay. Question 2. Good luck. All right, 45% is the accuracy on this one, which is okay. Now, this question, because of the sheer length, actually intimidates a lot of people. So, you need to understand every bit of it as you're reading it, understand it line by line, phrase by phrase. So, let's start reading it. A quiz game presents quizzes of progressive difficulty. Okay, D1, lowest difficulty level, then D2, and then so on. Every quiz has 10 questions, and if you answer even one question wrong, you don't go to the next level, you repeat that level. That's the situation. So Tom starts, and his probability of answering a question incorrectly at the lowest level, D1, that's 0.2. So it's a 20% chance that he gets something wrong here. But when you go to a D2 quiz, that's a higher level quiz, at that place the chances of getting it wrong, that's higher. It's 30% this time. What's the question? It's saying that this person, Tom, has taken two quizzes. After taking two quizzes, what is the probability that he will not move to D3? So you really have to think about all possibilities that two quizzes have happened, but he has not reached the third level. So, see, first I'll just write down the probability of getting answers correct, right? From incorrect, you can subtract that from 1, and we have the probability of answering something correctly at the D1 and D2 both levels. So, all of this information that I read, nothing did I read just for the sake of reading it. I was trying to understand the information so much that now if somebody asks me to look away and tell what I've read, I can tell. That's the level of clarity you have to build when you're doing a question. That's how I test myself. Do I know what this is talking about? Now, again, read it in small chunks. Don't see the whole thing and scare yourself away. Now, here what happened was, we're saying that he should not move to D3, right? That's the event that you're thinking about. The easier thing is to think of the reverse. Why? Look, so not moving to D3 can happen in three possibilities. First, you fail in D1, then again you fail in D1. That means your third quiz has to be D1 again, right? Second possibility, you fail in D1, then you pass D1. So next quiz you will do will be D2 level. You still have not reached D3. Last possibility is you pass D1, but now you fail D2. So that means the third quiz you do is D2 again. So three possibilities, no. But when you look at the reverse, when is he actually going to reach D3 in the third attempt? That's only one possibility. You pass D1, you pass D2, and that's the only way that your third quiz is going to be D3. So when I look at this, which one has fewer cases for me to deal with? The second, right? The non-event has fewer cases. That's how I decide I want to do the non-event thing. I'm not going to do the straight way. So I'm going to find the probability of the non-event, which is what? I pass D1 and I pass D2. And when are you going to pass it? When you do every question correctly, right? Now in D1, how do you pass it? Question 1 correct, and question 2 correct, and question 3 correct. Be careful when I'm saying and. I don't know who was confused. I think Pramod. So, and I'm saying that means I'm going to multiply, right? Similarly for T2. So, I just used the fact that getting every question correct in D1 was 0.8, and I'm multiplying that with itself 10 times. So, it makes it 0.8 to the power 10. Same for D2. Now, when you compose this, it's 0.56 to the power 10. Now, some people will just leave the answer here and mark this, which will be a trap. Of course, you have to subtract it from 1 because this was the non-event. Okay, so 55% of the class got this wrong, and I hope everybody now understood this. Let me know if you guys have any questions before we move to the third question in this sprint. I'm going to wait here for 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Any questions, ask away. The thing I want you to take away from this question, meanwhile, is how to just approach a question, how to read it, how to not be overwhelmed. Read a chunk, understand it, process that information in your head, then read the next chunk. Break things down, use logic. There's nothing in this question which was not doable only. Based on the concepts that we saw in the first 5 questions, this is no new concept at all. Now, why does this still feel so hard? Because it's just packaged in a more complicated way. Okay, so since I have no questions, it means everybody is clear. Let's have the poll for question 3, please. This is the question. Good luck. Okay, pretty low accuracy on this one. 33% people got this correct. So listen to this very carefully. Again, the main thing needed here was to break the question down and to understand it piece by piece. So keep asking questions if you guys get confused, okay? So Abe, Beth, Carl, they start writing a science fiction book, and individual probabilities for completing the books are given. So it's written here again. Now, once a book is completed, then it has a 20% chance of getting published. So it's one thing to complete a book, it's another thing to get it published. 20% chance that yes, it will go. Now, the question is, what is the probability that Beth or Carl, but not Abe, will get their book published? That means Beth gets the book published, or Carl gets the book published, or both of them get the book published, but Abe does not get the book published. So, we're talking about the final publishing should not happen. Before this, what happens? Nothing has been talked. So whether the book was completed or not, that's not given. Okay, so we need to understand this event in a little bit more detail. What does it mean? What do we really want? So think about it. First, I'm just breaking it into two parts, that B or C, these books get published. Abe book does not get published. And is it an and or an or? Do you have a choice between these things, or both have to happen? Well, it's an and. That this also happens and this does not happen. So we're going to multiply. Now look at each of these one by one. So the first one I can represent as B or C. Second one I can represent as not A. Okay, now work on them one by one. So these are events 1 and 2. If I think about event 1, we did this in a warm-up question. How do you do the or case, A or B, remember? So it's simply going to be B plus C minus probability of both, because that is double counted, right? So I know the probability of B's book being published. How do I get that? Don't make the mistake of straight away saying 20%, which is 1 over 5. That is published, yes, but doesn't B first have to complete the book? So the probability of B's book being published, it depends on both things. First, B completes the book and the book gets published. So this in itself is a small double probability that you multiply. So it's 1 over 5 for completing the book, that's given in the question, and this 20% is also written as 1 over 5. Then same story you do for C. Probability of book being published is what? That C completes the book and it gets published. Both things. So completing the book comes from here in the question 1 by 4, and publishing is the same, 1 by 5. Finally, for B and C, what does it mean? Probability of B multiplied by probability of C. You just got those now, 1 by 25 and 1 by 20. So here you're just multiplying. All of this calculation gives you 11 over 125. And we have just got the probability of event 1 here. So if there are any questions, guys, put that now. I am going to continue talking, but then by the time I start talking, there should be questions here if you have them. Event 2, on the other hand, not A. You know how that works. Not A means 1 minus probability that A's book also gets published, right? So getting it published means what? Abe completes the book and it gets published. So completion this time is 1 over 2 that you have from the question. You calculate, it's 9 over 10. Nama says, what about the case where B read? You mean B completed the book, but it was not published. Now, we are not considering that case. What are we trying to find? We are trying to find in probability B or C that B's book gets published. Gets published means what? B completed the book also and it got published also. The other thing that you're talking about is not the event that we're dealing with. So we are trying to find the probability that it did get published. You are thinking about the probability that it did not get published. You don't have to go there. Focus on what is asked. Once you get both these probabilities, you know you had to just multiply. The answer is 99 over 1250. What is that? Vijay, you can't, you're adding B and C. Why are you adding B and C probabilities? Okay, Harshal says It is, should B's and C's probability of publishing be mutually exclusive? They are not exclusive, Harshil. Nowhere in the question did it say that only one book gets published. Was it said anywhere? They are mutually independent, that B's book getting published has got nothing to do with C's book getting published. They are independent. That's why I can multiply the probabilities to get and. But exclusive means they can't happen together. That's not given in the question. The correct answer is choice C. So since the accuracy was low here, I went pretty slow on this one, and I hope now you people are more clear with this. I'm going to wait here for 10-20 seconds. Put your questions. Let me know if you want to know something, ask something. If you're clear, write down C in the chat. So I'm not just waiting. Can't we write 80% times 1 by 2 instead of the not case? I'm not sure what you mean, Somesh. Why are we reducing 1 by 25 times this to both? See, individual probabilities of B being published was 1 by 25 and C was 1 by 20. And then you're talking about both being published, B and C. Because they're independent, one has got nothing to do with the other, you multiply them to get the and probability. That's what we did. Okay? Those who are clear, put C for clear in the chat. Otherwise, put your question. This is the end of the first sprint. And then we have 2 more questions in the second sprint. Okay, I see no more questions. So here then, process skills, as I've been already talking about. I mentioned consider all cases. I mentioned translate, how you read something in chunks and you go from English to math. There are these 7 process skills. There's manipulate that you don't see here. It's all of these skills together that form the bridge between concepts and application. So it's one thing to know concepts. It's another thing to be able to apply those concepts on questions. If you are somebody who's unable to apply, this is where the gap is. One or the other process skills is lagging. So we're going to put a link here in the chat, which is like a mini tutorial on process skills. It's like a mini course. So there are a lot of videos in that. Videos on each of these process skills where we explain them in detail, and we also show you example questions to show the power of those process skills. So Ashish, if you could put that link here, everybody make sure you go through that mini course. So Mesh, 20% is the probability of publishing, so 80%, yes, not publishing. But why would I do that? I am talking about Abe's book not being published. That could be 2 reasons. Abe didn't complete it only, or Abe completed it but it was not published. So it's 2 cases. You can do that totally. Okay. This was 600 to 700. You would call it at the 700, yes. And now we're going to 700 plus. So now we're going beyond. Okay. So we have the free trial link here also. I think the process skill link is not here yet. I'm gonna find that and share that also. Meanwhile, let's have the link for the first sprint question in the second sprint, question number 1. Good luck. All right, so you guys took pretty long on this one, and we gave you time because we wanted this to be your complete attempt. At least you should not feel like you rushed and you just didn't get the chance. So we gave you ample time, but still, I don't think a lot of people responded to this one. So the data is very interesting. Look how the correct answer, choice C, got 43% of the votes, but the most popular incorrect choice, which was E, also got 43% votes. So there is no clear winner. The majority is not correct. It's a tie. So let's see what happened here. Read this again carefully, piece by piece. Keep asking questions simultaneously. So in a business school, 4 out of every 5, three, 2 out of every 3 international students are male. And then we're talking about probability of a selected student, random, being an international student is zero point 0.3. And then we're also told that total students are 100. So that actually tells you number of international students, because if total students are 100 and the probability of picking an international student is zero point 0.3, the number of international students are 30. And if two students are selected at random, you want to find the probability that at least one of them is female international. So there's a lot going on. There's male, female, international student, and the other students, total students, and this and that. The best way to represent all of that is to visualize everything in the form of a tree diagram. Here you can see the flow, you can see what is a part of what, and you'll see when you populate this, then whatever question may be asked, you'll know what to do. So look at this. So total students, I don't have the number, or do I know it's 100 students, right? So piece by piece, try to fill in all of these. Then among the total students, there are some international students and then there are others. Do I have this number? Yes, I do. We just got this 30 number, right? So 30 is the number of international students. The moment I fill this in, I can also tell the other students, then the ones that are not international. It's simply going to be 100 minus 30, so 70. Now, in each of these categories, you're going to have male female breakdown, right? So now let's see what the rest of the question told us. The first sentence said 4 out of every 5 students are male. Well, that means out of the total students. That does not mean out of international or, the others. But then there's more. 2 out of every 3 international students are male. So this time I'm at least in the international block. So 30 being the total students, if I take 2/3 of 30, I can get that 20 male students are there in the international category. So females here are how many then? 10, right? Now you use the total 4 out of every 5 students to get the total number of male students first. So it's going to be 4/5 of 100. Now think about it. If 80 is the total number of male students and 20 male students are international, then remaining 60 have to be here, no? Then you can also get the female students because 70 is the total. See how every piece in the question, every piece of information had a role to play. And all of these pieces together helped you populate this tree diagram so that now you have values for every category. Without this, when a question is asked, you would not know what to do. You will always find yourself, confused. Which one do I have? What do I not have? What is a part of what? You'll always be confused. So every time that you see that there's a total, then there are different types in that total, always make a diagram like this. Now when you read the question, probability that at least one of those 2 students will be female international, that's your question, right? Now at least one of them will be female international means one female international and one student who's not female international, or both of them female international, or 2 female international, so I'm there are too many things to consider. But the reverse is easier. The reverse is that you take just no female international student. Then you subtract that from 1, right? So when you look at it in this situation, when we had all of our calculations, I'm going to see that female international students were 10. So I have to select at least one of this, right? 10 was international female students out of the total 100. That means all of the remaining 90 were not female international. So if you find your non-event that the students are not female international students, then from those 90 you're selecting 2 students, 90 C2. This probability that you get, if you stop here, you will go wrong. Obviously, you need to subtract it from 1, and that's when you get choice C. Okay, Ashish, what was choice E, the number? I'll also check one second. Yeah, I found it. Choice E was 89 over 100. That means 43% of you people did everything correctly. And actually, I'm happy to see this, that the accuracy would have been 86% if you did this last step. So you lost the entire question to one subtraction. It's not worth it. All of that effort you put in, everything that you did, at the end you just cancelled everything by not needing what you had to do. Okay, AG says we don't need the information. Once we know, we can use. Yeah, so my goal here was to show you the entire flow chart. Now tell me one thing, if I don't know that 80 total students are males, how will you get that the male students that are not international are 60? Because from that I got this 10. It was all a cycle as I went in. If I don't have that, how will I go to the next step? Nama says, I started the tree diagram by going into male, female first. That should be okay. That works. Whatever you feel is helping you fill the tree diagram properly, you can do that. But the thing is that because the question already told you that there are going to be 30 international students, at least we had a starting value. Same way, you will have a starting 80 value for male. You can do that, Nama. There's no rule as to which categorization goes first. Okay, so that's no problem. All right, so here with this question number 2, the last question is coming up. Give this your best, everybody. Let's have the poll, Ashish. And this is the question. Good luck. Okay, so good job, everybody. 91% accuracy this time. Everybody probably drew the diagram and all of that representation very nicely. I'm not going to go into too much detail because you people did this so well. So total shirts, then white, non-white, defective, no defect. This is how the tree diagram should look after you fill all of it. And then because I wanted what percentage of white shirts do not have a tailoring defect, I am looking at this number, 0.6n minus x out of 0.6n. It's what percent of the white shirts, right? So to really be able to calculate this, what I need, as you can see after simplification, is x over n. N I've taken as the total shirts and x as the defective white shirts. After that, when you look at your first statement, you get that if one shirt is selected at random from the entire box, then probability of having a defect is 0.5. You can see how that means x plus 0.3n. You can find the ratio from here. Similarly, from statement 2, probability that a tailoring defect shirt is white. So you see something that is white out of all of the ones that have tailoring defects. Even this gives you the ratio that you wanted, making it sufficient. So process skill link is here that I talked about earlier, the mini course on all process skills that you need for application. Okay, so as I said, process skills are your bridge from concepts to application, not just for advanced topics. It's just for any topic that you do in quant, it's going to help you there. So for other topics, as I said, there are 2 sessions coming up in the coming weekend. One is about planning your journey to that 99th percentile with Rajat. So join this session on Saturday, May 20, 7:30 p.m. IST. The registration link will be in the comments again. And then the very next day, you have a quant session again. This is geometry. Harsha is going to host it. This is Sunday, 7:30 p.m. IST, May 21. Link is going to be here again. So you're going to see how all of these process skills will come back to you in this session as well. So I conclude with some points here that you have to be absolutely confident about your concepts before you go to questions. Make sure that when you're solving a question, you're not cutting corners, you're not using shortcuts, because they don't always work. On some question it may work, but on another question you'll find yourself lost. If you follow steps, then you're going to be more confident of what you're doing. Whenever you're reading a question, don't just passively read it. Don't just read it for the sake of reading it. Read it word by word, understand every piece, change that English into math as you go. Finally, trust yourself. Trust the test maker. You're not going to suddenly be tested on concepts from rocket science. No, that's not going to happen. You have this under control. Just go with all your confidence. Okay. All the very best. We are going to just put a link here for small feedback form. It'll take you like 30 seconds to 1 minute to fill. That will mean a lot to us. And thank you for being here, everybody. I'm going to see you in another session very soon. Good night, good day, bye-bye. Good luck to all those of you who have the exam before I meet you next. All right, bye-bye. Harshil, you were there last time. Yes, thankfully, no earthquakes today. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.